Designing Smart, Sustainable and Efficient Transportation by Mr. Jivraj Papdiwal, Head Logistic Warehousing and Customer Service at Marico Limited. Mr. Jivraj.
I think Ankur has made my job simpler, by setting context on the digital tech in the field of logistics. I think I would represent largely the industry perspective here, our journey, of TMS and some of the tools that we have implemented, and some of the things that he spoke about, how we have experienced those, and what is the value that we have generated. So through this presentation, I will touch upon various, aspects of the initiatives that we took in digital space, as well as other network optimization levers that we have actually implemented in making our entire network efficient, sustainable. That is going to be the idea of this presentation. So we'll break the presentation in 4 parts. We'll talk about the tech in logistics and what is it that we have done, how have we used it. The efficiency levers, there are multiple efficiency levers that I will talk about. How have we actually implemented those and what is the kind of cost optimization that we've achieved through these levers. Network optimization, I think this forms a very important element of entire supply chain design. How did we go about the network optimization and what is it that we do regularly to make sure that the entire network is efficient and smart, in line with the business requirements to generate a higher top line there. And obviously sustainability in logistics, this obviously remains a very important topic for everyone here, and I'll talk about the role of logistics and what are we doing in this bit to make sure that our entire operation moves towards becoming more sustainable. The first part, the digital tech in logistics. When we talk about, so there is a McKinsey, paper on supply chain 4.0, right? When we talk about a very mature supply chain, there are 4 key attributes of the mature supply chain. One, the speed with which you are able to react to changes, the accuracy and granularity that one is able to achieve, efficiency, as well as flexibility. So in each of these, quickly to tell you about the work that we have done at Marico, the predictive analytics, when is it that you will be able to achieve speed in your responses? When you are able to predict, before the event happens. We have actually implemented a module of demand sensing. Our forecast accuracy is typically around 70% before the month. However, every 10 block, through the demand drivers which are given for that particular month, we have a AI ML based tool which helps us revise the forecast on 11th and 21st of month. That is something that is helping with a jump shift of approximately 10% in forecast accuracy. Now, this is a predictive analytics that we're using. We use APO SNP, the SAP module for supply network planning, and our entire distribution is on APO SNP there, which we are moving to APO IBP now, the SAP IBP now. So in this, the demand plays a very important role, and how frequently are you refreshing those numbers. So predictive analytics is one part where our demand sensing module has been a game changer for us, and the kind of results that we have achieved is something that I'll talk about in the coming slides. The granularity, our business mix has changed from approximately 85% distributive trade through the Kirana shop model, wherein we used to service through distributors, to the likes of Zeptos and Swiggy's and Reliances of the world. The mix has changed from 85% general trade to now just 68% general trade. Our organized trade contributes to 32% right now. Now this is through e-commerce, there is CSD channel, there is modern trade, there are institutional customers, right? And there are also B2Bs of the world now, the likes of Metro, Walmart, Jio B2B, right? These are the customers that we deal with. The complexity on the customer side is exploding, and it is very important to have the granularity and accuracy around that. Increasingly, the pack requirements for these channels are also different. We are maybe selling bigger packs on some of the modern trade outlet formats. The pack formats are different when we go to general trade. For a 10 rupee pack, it is better placed in a Kirana shop, and you would not see such small bottles getting placed in expensive in formats which probably have limited shelves available there, right? So most of these SKU challenges are arising because of the changes changing channel mix that we are having, and hence your accuracy, granularity becomes extremely important in reacting to those. We have different type of demand planning modules for each of these because they behave differently. We have handshakes which have started happening with big baskets and Swiggies of the world, wherein rolling 3-month forecast is something that is coming to us, that is getting plugged in. Obviously, the forecast accuracy there remains to be a challenge. It is far lower than a distributive trade where I have a very good history of years together. We largely use 36 months history. However, the kind of history that we have is extremely rich. That is not the case here, and hence a handshake with some of these customers become extremely important. The efficiency through automation. Now, when we talk about automation, the automation is on two parts. There is a physical automation which happens in our warehouses, ASRS system that we have in some of our plants, the WMS part of it in warehousing, and also the kind of IoTs that you have in transportation. However, there is also a planning side of it wherein we have multiple tools of SAP, the TMS part of it. There are demand planning modules wherein we create baseline forecast. So all this efficiency through automation and not anyone doing things manually, that becomes an extremely important thing in gaining more efficiency. Flexibility is about real-time planning. So some of the distribution planning that I'll talk about, it is something that we do every day. It is not that if the product is not selling, I will stop production after 20 days and by that time I have inventory pile up. Or it is not the case that if something is selling faster, the signal will be passed on to plant after a lot of lag and then we run into stockouts. So a real-time planning and flexibility around that, and obviously some of it is not only in planning phase, it is also important to build this capability in the entire value chain in manufacturing also, making sure that the changeovers are faster, making sure that the MOQs are lower, right? And that is where you achieve some of these real-time planning changes and the benefit that you derive out of those. Specifically talking about logistics, see, there are obviously the technologies like blockchain which are also in place, but what I will talk about is something that we have implemented. I'll talk about the journey that we have covered, right? And we take a lot of pride, in saying that I think we have achieved a significant milestone in each of these. One is TMS. This is something that I'll cover in detail. We have implemented TMS. I think now it's been 5 years, and the success story around that, and some of the work that we still continue to do in the entire transport management system. The route and network optimization. So this is something that I'm going to cover in slightly more detail on what is it that we do in network and how is it that we are planning our footprint, the location of the nodes, the flow of the goods, all of that. The control tower driver behavior monitoring for enhanced safety of drivers and also predictive maintenance. Some of these initiatives are not directly done by us, but the partners who actually have these, the transporters, right? So we have multiple transporters who have actually put in very smart devices and they have put in control towers in their offices, which really help in making sure that we have very accurate information and also predictive the action which is not reactive and it is more of predictive in nature in terms of information that gets passed on to the field team. The real-time tracking and data visibility, I think this remains a backbone of everything, wherein through TMS and through multiple other platforms, we have a lot of visibility. There was a lot of data which was not available, and only through implementation of some of these tools, we have started getting a lot of data now. So the kind of visibility that you would get will obviously give you so many opportunities to improve some of the things that we were not even aware that, hey, this route is something which was highly, underutilized always. This is another area where we are paying a very high shortage and damage cost, which is adding to my insurance cost also. So some of these things are actually getting added in our continuous improvement process through a lot of data visibility, which is coming through these tools. So this is our journey about the TMS. What is it that we were doing before TMS implementation and what is it that we are doing after TMS implementation? So the entire process of, the plant teams would send an email or they would call the transporter and indents were placed manually. Then the follow-ups were manual. Then the truck reporting and, making the entries of that was manual. There were manual trackers everywhere. The tracking of the entire vehicle was manual. After that, the SLA computation, if the agreed TAT is 7 days, what is the actual time that it took to reach, right? All those computations were manual. If we had to actually rank the transporter in terms of their timely performance, I think it would take a month or two to only create the data, collate from all the factories, all the depots, and then probably have that understanding on which transporter is good, which is bad, which is ugly. Now this is something which has become real time. Had, I think, approximately 20 plus manual touch points in the entire process. Now all those have been eliminated, right from APO giving the deployment to the TLB in our TMS. From that to auto indenting, the vehicle reporting is also getting captured automatically. From that, we have geo-fenced our plant as well as warehouse location. So all these things are done through SIM-based tracking. 91% of our fleet on ground, and I'm talking about FTL right now, that is completely traced, and we don't have any fancy GPS devices or collaboration with multiple different organizations or different vendors tracking differently. We have SIM-based tracking across our entire FTL fleet, wherein we get the real-time information on that, right? The bigger pain point was reconciliation. So I remember that there were transporters who were reconciling their bills even after 2 years, right? And there were a lot of back and forth that used to happen on debits and some of the shortages and settlements around that, right? So all those things have actually become far more seamless. We were taking anywhere between 60 to 75 days from bill submission to payment. Now that whole thing is getting done automatically, and the entire turnaround time in the entire process is just 5 days. We are also levying a discount, right? And most of our partners are happy to take that, right? And that is where they are getting faster payments within 5 days. And the working capital cycle for them has also improved. So it has led to a huge cost saving. That has been the business case, because obviously when you invest in something like a TMS, there is cost to it. There is annual fees that you want to pay. There would be a business question that all of you would face: who would fund that cost? And how do you justify the benefit of that? So some of the things on faster payment cycle and you getting discount on account of that can easily fund the TMS case. There are also other merits of SLA computation, the transit delays, placement delays, which were becoming very difficult to compute and even to discuss with transporters and debits around that. Now everything happens automatically. The debits of some of the SLA violations are computed in system and are posted in the TMS wallet, and that is something that is getting settled with most of these same invoices then and there. So now this obviously also generates a significant amount of money, and it also drives the performance behavior. Obviously, there is no happiness that any organization gets by debiting partners. However, the kind of performance that it has started driving, right, for most of our transporters, I think they are also happy. It is a win-win for both, wherein there is a fair and transparent thing which they are also aware, and a concurrent feedback is going to all of them. So this is something that I spoke about, the things which have changed. Now the entire automated indenting, and there is a state-of-the-art portal that we have. There are dashboards which we have created. So some things were not there in the beginning, but we have worked with our TMS partner. Arpit is also here. They have also implemented TMS recently. There are multiple organizations who have actually gone this route, and it is something that is helping multiple organizations. I think most of you would have already covered this journey, but if you have not covered, I think there is a lot of merit in discussing this internally and making this as a part of your core logistics process. What is it that we've achieved? If I have to talk about 4 key supply chain pillars, so our entire, when we make annual operations plan, we always talk about 4 levers of cost, process, digital, and consumer centric. When I make my annual operation plan, AOP, and something that we present to the MD of the organization also, these are the 4 levers that we have for supply chain: cost, process, digital, and consumer centricity. The role of TMS in cost, we have achieved 2 to 5% reduction, right? And there continues to happen, on the discount that we get and some of the SLAs. So every year there is a good cost reduction. Also the kind of discovery that I'll also talk about, the procurement module, some of the spot buying that we do and annual auctions that we do, that is another element there. The process is completely robust and standardized. So it is not a thing wherein 25 warehouses or 15 plants are following different ways and different processes. Through this one standard tool, the standardization is one thing which we have been able to achieve, and entire process is extremely robust. End-to-end automation, we spoke about this from indenting to the payment part, right? Procure to pay, entire cycle is fully automated, which is something which has actually removed all manual touch points, errors, has made the entire process also very fast. The service level, right? Obviously, Ankur also spoke about it on how it really impacts the service level, the fill rates part of it, and then the customer satisfaction. I read recently in a report published by I think Karni that 73% of the consumers are willing to pay higher if they are getting visibility, on their shipments, and if they get assured delivery, right? That is the kind of customer that we have today through omni-channel presence that all the organizations have, and hence your consumer centricity, higher service levels, and predictability becomes a very important lever in the entire game. Have we actually finished our journey? I think not yet. We have covered, we break our transportation in three parts. When I strictly talk about transportation, it is first mile, mid mile, and last mile for us. First mile is our primary transportation. That is where we have done this. Secondary, we have implemented TMS, but it is not fully stable yet. We are still covering, our journey there, and in making sure that the kind of success that we have in primary also gets replicated. The kind of shipments that we have in secondary are far more higher, right? We have 1,800 full truck loads moving across the country for roughly 30,000 tons of load that we manage every month. The secondary transportation is very fragmented, right? We work with multiple transporters, so that is something that we're planning to do. On the inbound side, Marico has tanker movements of, sunflower oil, rice bran oil, and the paraffin oil and all that. So all that is also inbound is also moving to TMS for us. This is something that is currently in progress for this year. Load optimizations, we did not really have that for inter-branch transfers that we were doing. We are trying to put that there also. And the best asset selection, which truck type should be selected basis per ton. Some of the logics were already in place. We are constantly improvising those, right? The performance management, the dashboard is something that we've created along with the TMS partner for making sure that we have transporter ranking. So when we are actually giving the share of business to the transporter, it is not only basis the L1, L2, it is going to be through a performance on. So we have observed, very different things. The one transporter was always L1. It has come to light that the damages, shortages, the transit performance for that transporter are very high, right? So some of these things are extremely alarming. Do I really want to work with a partner who's actually making me win on cost, but there are other parameters which are impacting organizations are really getting suffered. So through performance management, I think this is something that is work in progress, which is getting sharper and sharper. Freight analytics, since the entire pay module is also on TMS, it becomes very important that you have exception analytics so that you don't have wrong payments happening, you don't have excess payments happening. There are volumetric weights which might get wrongly maintained, in the entire MDM piece of it, and it can actually impact incorrect payments also, which could lead to a lot of dissonance on both sides. The efficient freight procurement, so we have actually done procure also through the TMS tool wherein they give benchmark rates. Earlier, the counters or the table discussion, I would be honest, were slightly ad hoc, right? And we were giving counters which were not very scientific. Now, on that rate, what is the rate that you have and what is the per ton cost that you should have on that rate? Basis that there is a scientific counter that gets given, and maybe we decide truck type selection also basis all that. The stronger controls, there are quarterly reconciliations which have started, and there is no discrepancy around some of these things in future. I think in the interest of time, I would move faster. The efficiency levers, this is something which is more of a generic thing that we do across our entire value chain. Loadability improvement, it has gone up from approximately 90 to 93% to 95% plus. Through TMS, we have Optima there, the entire TLB, we have a minimum loadability lock, the right asset selection. So in order to make sure that our product dimensions are also optimum, because all of you know the kind of truck types that we have in India, right? It is not really standard, and that creates a lot of challenge for all of us. The asset specification, so obviously the containerization is something which has happened from below 40% containerized vehicle to approximately more than 70%. We are moving big time in the area of foods. Some of these are lightweight items. The containerized vehicle, the high cube containers and all that are really helping us drive more efficiency there, right? And also the chances of pilferages and all that are also lower. the TMS implementation is something that we spoke about. We have dynamic vehicle type selection. So in some cases, we know that there is a requirement from planners that, hey, my load will not get built every day. So don't really force me to go for a bigger 25 MT or 18 MT. I need 9 MT. But there are times wherein you might have a bigger load. So we have both types of truck configured, and depending on that day situation, it automatically picks optimizing the service level as well as the cost here. The RFQ sourcing, we have 15% of the new partners. So we say that 15 to 20% churn is good. That is a good price discovery mechanism that we have, and we keep experimenting. And every year, it is somehow surprising that we are able to achieve good cost optimizations and saving through some of these RFQ levers. The road infra is improving big time, right? And that is where you would know that maybe earlier it was taking 6 days. Now, after the road gets created, constructed, you are probably able to move the vehicle in 3 days time only, and hence some of the costs really go down. Yeah, network optimization. So the TDC part of it, what is it that each organization tries to achieve? Cost and service level, there is a trade-off. The sweet spot is, the cost should go down and service level should improve. If you really consolidate your networks and if you have lesser warehouses, obviously your cost will go down, right? Because some of the fixed cost will get apportioned and you may reduce inventory also, but you will then service a higher radius, and that is where the service level will get impacted. In today's world where everyone needs stock in 1 or 2 days, if you really consolidate too much, that also is a service level challenge, right? So what is it that we do? We had done this activity in 2007. Just give me 1 minute, if that's okay. Yeah. So we had actually implemented a the entire network piece in 2017, just before GST, wherein we consolidated from 37 warehouses to roughly 25 warehouses now. There is another round that we are doing now. I think every 4 or 5 years is what we do end to end, right? However, there are small TDC analysis, total delivered cost analysis, which keep happening every year, right? So through various levers of flow of goods, which should go direct, which should go through RDC, which should go through a central distribution center, which we have for Nagpur for some of our small brands. So that is something that we decide there, right? This is a distribution planning which we run through APO, which is a real-time thing, right? Which maximizes profit and reduces cost. This is completely automated, standard tool of SAP, something which is working phenomenally well for us, right? These are the results that we've achieved. I would just, leave it on screen for you to see. This is the kind of journey that we have. This is not 1 year's chart. This is something which has happened over 5 years, right? And continuously the cost to serve in the entire network has gone down. There is obviously onus on all of us to move to sustainable and greener supply chain, right? Through multiple efficiency levers, the distance traveled should go down, the higher utilization should be there. All this should lead to lesser requirement of the trucks, and hence should lead to lesser emission of greenhouse gas emissions there. The modes and engine types, so sea versus rail versus road versus air. So whatever is most efficient in terms of greenhouse gas emission, one should use that. BS3 to BS6 is the engine shift that we are forcing or discussing with our transporters so that the emission levels should go down. And obviously there are some prototypes which are happening in the CNG as well as EV space. I would just leave you with one quote on the sustainability, that the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. I think we have senior leaders from bigger organizations in this room, and I think if we all take small steps, I understand that cost remains to be a key focus for most of the organizations. But yeah, if all of us probably think in this direction, I think we all can consciously make an impact in this space. Yeah, thank you so much, and I'm sorry for taking extra time.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for this wonderful session by Mr. Jivraj? Moving ahead, now I would like to call upon stage Mr. Ankur Dudi to felicitate Mr. Jivraj.